it's a time for the second, the last speaker. And after the two speakers finished, we will come into the discussion stage. Okay.
Okay. Good morning or good evening, everyone. So I'm Liyue from UMich ECE. Very thankful for the invitations from Dr. Zhang to give a talk here about the multimodal medical imaging. So I will use the next 15 minutes to describe some like the recent works in our lab exploring in like the multimodal learning, especially for the different biomedical applications. Okay, so we have seen the multimodal has been a pretty active research field or directions in the generative AI. So for example, we have seen the foundation model or the generative AI models to learn from the different modalities, including the image, text, or even the video and audio. But actually in the medical domain, we also face the same challenge for the multimodality, but essentially the modalities could be even more complicated or challenging than what we have seen in the natural domain. So for example, we have not only the text report, the different types of the different modalities of medical images. We may also have like the genomics data or tabular data from the EHR or like the time series data from the wearable device. And also we may have the different applications that we're interested in to integrate the information from the different modalities to help solve. So not only for diagnosis, but also for like the survival analysis, for the precision health or the digital clinical trials. So as shown in the right figure, so these are all the different challenges that we're facing why and also when we want to use like the multimodal data in the medical applications. So here comes the key research questions, which is also what I want to address in currently and also in the near future as well. So how can we relate or combine the different modalities in order to feel comprehensive, understand the data information, and also to further enhance the accuracy for the prediction of the various downstream tasks. So to go back to recall a little bit about the multimodal research that have been investigated over the past few years. So one of the interesting ideas that actually was motivated from the self-supervised learning or the contrastive learning. So for example, in the CMCLR, the researchers proposed the idea to learn the transformation invariant features that from the different augmentations of the images through the contrastive laws. And here is showing like the different transformations and also what we can do to process on the different images. And our goal is trying to learn representations that is still aligned across this different transformation. But not only in the images, but it can also showing some like the powerful representation ability across different modalities. For example, between the image and also the text. So in this paper, which is introduced the ideas first time on the X-ray images with the corresponding report. So it leveraged the contrastive learning mechanism to align the features or representations across the paired X-ray images and also the corresponding report to make sure they can be aligned with each other on the latent space. And this idea actually has shown pretty interesting applications or the potential because in this case, we even don't need like the data mining to get the disease label for training a good image representations, but just need like the corresponding radiology reports. And also following that, there are also some like the further works to investigate along this line. So for example, in this paper published in the 21, it shows the ideas to integrate the information from the image and text, not only for the global structures, but also want to learn the localized features. So for example, what kind of the subregions in the X-ray images would be corresponding to the phrases in the text report, and also showing the improvement in the various downstream tasks, including the image text retrieval, the image classification, and also segmentation. So following this work, we also provide some like the more another new recent work, which is trying to see like how can we incorporate the sequential images into this image text representation learning. So we know like in the text report, always the radiologist will give the report by comparing the current images with the prior scan for the same patient to emphasize on what kind of the changes has happened in this patient. So which means like we actually not only just look into a single image to align with the report, but actually what we care about is the temporal changes in the image sequence across for the same patient. In this case, we propose the longitudinal multimodal contrastive learning to learn from the reports from the temporal changes on the image features with the corresponding reports. So this idea is with the contrastive learning to extract the temporal features has shown pretty interesting and also the promising results where we can be able to do the downstream task, for example, the progression prediction. And this progression could be in the different categories, depends on the localized features that has been detected on the X-ray images at the different time points. So this is just some examples showing how the contrastive has been used to learn the multimodal representations across the medical images and also the corresponding reports over the past few years. But there actually has been so many works along this line showing the contrastive alignment for these ideas, not only for the images, but even for like the genomics as well. So even it has shown so interesting results, but does that solve all the problem? The answer is no, because our target goal is trying to use the features or representations from the different modalities for enhancing our predict tasks. Because we can consider or we can assume like there could be different complementary data from the different data modalities. But here, through the contrastive learning, the idea is trying to align the image features or the text features in the representation space. So which is actually trying to find the latent space that could be able to connect the representation from the two modalities instead of to fuse them together. So how can we do the multimodal fusion? So here has been some like the review paper and showing the different approaches that people have been thinking about. For example, the early fusion, the late fusion, or intermediate fusion. So this has been pretty commonly used in the different multimodal medical tasks and depends on where we integrate or fuse the features, and we can divide that into the different stages. But even this work has been showing in the previous study, it is not very clear what kind of the fusion strategies will be the most ideal or will work the best in different applications. So always this will be integrated case by case. And another limitation for this previous approach is like, even though we have do the multimodal fusion by concatenating or fuse the features from the different modalities, but we may not really understand how the different modalities are contributing for the final tasks. So which means like we cannot interpret how the multimodal fusion is happening for predicting the final task. So in order to address those challenges, so my research over the past few years and also in the ongoing works is trying to solve those challenges in the multimodal biomedical AI, including the modality complexity and also the task severity. How can we design the multimodal learning algorithms that could be able to give us an effective multimodal fusion while also be able to interpret how the different modalities are contributing? And in the other side, we're also addressing the idea or the challenges in the this domain about the data challenging. So, for example, when we're looking into the multimodal, we are always facing the challenges of the missing modalities or the heterogeneity modalities across the different sites. So, how can we overcome these challenges? Become the key research questions we want to address here. So, firstly, in order to address the model challenge, we recently proposed a very interesting idea for the multimodal multitask learning. The idea is trying to, like mentioned earlier, so instead of using some like the static model to learn the different fusions across different modalities, so we want to propose a new idea that through the backbones of the mixture of the experts, that could be helpful for us to learn the modality specific and also the modality shared informations across the different experts. And this can also be relevant for predicting the different downstream tasks as well, because the informations from the different experts can also contribute for the different task predictions by integrating the task specific or the task shared information. So how can we achieve that? Here is some more technical details in the model structures. So the model comes as the three main parts. So first part is the modality-specific encoding. That could be the off-the-shelf pre-trained encoders or the encoders that train from the scratch, depends on the input modality. And the second part is for the modality-specific experts that is process the representations for each modality. And also most interesting is what proposed for this modality shared modality task MOE. I will introduce more details later. And finally, we integrate the different experts information with the different task heat for solving the multitask learning as well. So what we are doing here for the multimodal fusion in the MTOE? So here is I will introduce some the high level idea. So here we have some the learnable matrix phi that is indicate the input dependent information for the modality expert assignment or the routing function, and also the expert task assignment function. So which means how shall we integrate the informations from the different modalities should also be learnable or should also depend on the input information. So intuitively, this is indicate how shall we do the multimodal fusion should depends on what kind of the modalities are existed and also what kind of informations are preserved in each modality. And this kind of the learnable matrix phi can be converted to indicate this kind of the conditional distributions. And we also add some the mutual information loss to indicate the constraint or regression here. So if you're interested, feel free to check our papers for more details. And this work has shown very interesting results and also very promising across different applications, including the breast cancer screening with 4 modalities for 7 tasks, and also the retinal diagnosis with 2 modalities for 2 tasks. And as we had shown here, the newly introduced MTOE for the multimodal fusion has largely increased the final results in this application study across the different tasks and also the different datasets. So this is showing how it is important for the multimodal multitask learning, but not only for the performance improvement. So these ideas can also be able to interpret how the different modalities are contributing for the different final task. So in the mammograph screening, so here is showing some the modality contributions for the different tasks, the 1-year risk and also the density classification, and across the different samples, I mean the patient sample. And we can visualize the modality contributions at the sample level or in the population level by average across the different patients. So we can see the modality contributions from the different modalities actually can vary a lot across different sample, while it can be generally more normalized or equal when we are looking into the patient population level. So this can also give us the insight for different patients or different patient groups, how the specific modalities will play an effect in the final prediction task for the clinicians. Okay, so I will use the remaining time to quickly go over the data challenge that we are also interested in. And as mentioned earlier, in the multimodal learning, especially if we consider for the high modality settings where there are more than 2 modalities we're interested in, and there may also comes with another challenge with the random missing modalities. So in these cases, these data distributions may show some the long-tailed distribution as shown in this figure. So the red curve, the bar is showing the red curve is showing the percentage of the total number of the samples across different modality combinations as shown in the left figure. And also the blue bar is showing the corresponding accuracies of the different modality combination groups. And we can see this kind of the long tail distribution showing here in the high modality settings will really lead to very biased prediction accuracy across the different groups. So that is some of the problems that hasn't been explored or has been ignored in the previous study. So in a recent work, we propose these ideas with the motivation to investigate the missing modalities in the multimodal learning through a long-tailed distribution perspective. And we propose these ideas called the Remind, which is also based on the mixture of expert backbone that we introduced in the last work. Well, we think like for the different modality combination groups, we may need to specify the learning for this kind of the phi matrix to assign the different learning distributions across the different groups. So in this way, we propose the ideas to learn this kind of the group-specific multimodal fusion functions with some like the residue for the phi matrix to learn the specialized routing function in which we can imbalance the different performance across the different groups. So this idea is showing a pretty promising performance especially when compared with the different baselines. So firstly, compare with the multimodal baseline, which may not even consider the missing modality problems or may consider missing modality problems through the imputation way or the learnable embedding, for example, like the Flex MOE. So it has achieved a large performance, a large improvement, especially for those kind of the tail groups. And also for the other baselines with the long tail distributions, which are focused on with only a single modality. And here we also show like how our methods could work better, especially when considering the multimodal setting. So if you're interested, feel free to look into our paper for more details. We also have like the results across the 3 data sets across with the different numbers of the modalities. Okay, and finally, I will just briefly mention here, like we are also interested in the fidelity multimodal learning because we know like if we want to scale up the dataset size for the multimodal learning, it will be very hard to collect the large scale data for a single institute or hospital. So we must need to leverage the data sources across the different sites. And in this way, if we cannot directly transfer the data across the different institutes, and we will need to use the federated learning to help us to train the model in a distributed setting. So in this way, how can we do that, especially for the multimodal setting? So this work is showing some of the proof of concept and also the primary ideas to do that with the vision language model as the first step. And the key ideas is what we proposed as through the distribution robust alignment for the vision language training. And we have also shown in the results like these ideas could be generalizable across the different backbones of the vision language modeling, and also can also achieve some improvement compared with the previous state of the art as well. Okay, to quickly give a summary, so here I want to show what is the challenges we're facing for the multimodal biomedical AI, and also what is our recent works that is trying to investigate to address these key challenges. And definitely these ideas could be beneficial for many different downstream tasks in the biomedical domain. And finally, I want to acknowledge all the collaborators, my students, who contributing for all the works I have mentioned today, and also the funding support from the federal agency and also the UMich schools. So thank you so much. Feel free to send me an email if you have any question about the presentations I described today. Thank you.